After the famous science fiction show Rick and Morty, another animated show geared towards adults has become quite popular amongst the masses. In this video, we'll be talking all about the famous Netflix animated sitcom Big Mouth. This ongoing TV show released its first season on September 29, 2017 on Netflix, which consisted of 10 episodes, and since then, 2 more seasons have come out. This American TV show revolves around puberty and problems faced by teens and tweens as they pass through this confusing stage of their life. Big Mouth talks about topics that are difficult to talk about for adolescents and may even more be mortifying for some. The popularity of the show also comes from the fact that some big names have lent their voices to the characters of the show. John Mulaney, Nick Kroll, Maya Rudolph, and Jordan Peele are some of the names behind the characters' voices. Story: Big Mouth is a comedy animated sitcom created by Nick Kroll, Andrew Goldberg, Mark Levin, and Jennifer Fleckett. According to the creators, what makes this show interesting is the fact that it is based on Nick and Andrew's personal life experiences and their upbringing in the suburban New York. Nick's character in the show is called Nick as well, and is voiced by himself, whilst Andrew's character is also named after himself and is voiced by John Mulaney. The show follows the life of Nick and Andrews as 7th graders, along with their other friends as they pass through the wonders and horrors of puberty and have different experiences for the first time. Big Mouth takes on adolescence from an adult point of view, and that's what makes the show pretty hilarious. We all have gone through puberty and are aware of how confusing it can be, so to look at these tweens going through the same things and being just as confused and embarrassed as we were makes the show relatable yet funny. In Big Mouth, every character has a hormone monster, a literal horned monster that embodies the character's private urgings, which can appear and disappear as it wishes. In an interview, Nick Kroll stated that even though he and Andrew have been friends since first grade, they went through puberty at different ages and had different experiences. Whilst Andrew had facial hair by 7th grade, Nick didn't really go through puberty until high school. So, despite being best friends, they went through the experience alone, and it was the realization that became the baseline for the show. Nick further elaborated that Jesse's characters is also based on one of their real-life friends that they had in school. When they talked to her about making this show, she told them stories about how she went through puberty, and it really threw Nick off because he realized that at that time he did not notice that his friend was going through this stuff. It dawned at him that many of these puberty stories stay secrets because people are too embarrassed to talk about them. So Big Mouth became a platform to talk about all the events that a person experiences during their teens and tweens whilst going through puberty by adding a comedic element to it. Characters: the show has many fascinating characters, mostly tweens that are passing through or are worried about puberty, the main ones being Nick Birch. Nick Birch is the main character and the central protagonist of the show. He's a rational, sensible, and responsible prepubescent 12-year-old. In the beginning of the show, he is seen worrying about not having hit puberty yet, which makes his confidence waver at times. Andrew Glauberman. Andrew is the second main character of the show and is Nick Birch's best friend. He's a nerdy, awkward 12-year-old who has been hit hard by puberty, turning him into a mess with pimples, pubescent facial hair, and inappropriate sexual urges. In the show, he's seen being controlled and driven to madness by his hormone monster, Murray. Jessie Glazer. Arguably the main female character of the show, Jessie is a smart, sarcastic, and popular girl. As she comes from a dysfunctional family, she is seen acting out at different occasions. But, despite of her negative attitude, she's quite likable and cares about her friends. Jay is also one of the main characters of Big Mouth, who is shown to have ADHD. He is a 13-year-old boy struggling with self-identity. He has a passion for magic and is a fan of many magicians. An interesting fact about Jay is that he's the only character in the show to not have a hormone monster. Another good thing about the show is its amazing voice cast, which makes the show so much more interesting. The cast list comprises of a handful of SNL alums and comedy icons, a few of which are Nick Kroll. It may sound unbelievable, but Nick voices a total of 12 characters in the show, including the fictional younger version of himself, the hormone monster, the illiterate coach Steve, and many others. John Mulaney, the stand-up comedian, writer, producer, and actor. John Mulaney voices the character of Andrew, who is a mid-pubescent mess. Maya Rudolph. The bridesmaid star, Maya Rudolph, has lent her voice to the characters of Hormone Monstrous, Diane Birch, and a few others. Jordan Peele. Amongst other characters on the show that Jordan voices, Freddie Mercury is the one that stands out, especially when he belts out a harmonious ballad on human sexuality, giving the real Freddie a run for this money. Publishing. Big Mouth came into being when Andrew Goldberg, along with screenwriter-directors Jennifer Flackett and Mark Levin, approached Nick Kroll to make a show about the struggles of puberty and adolescence. As Nick and Andrew were best friends since childhood, they came up with the idea of using their own experiences as the storyline of the show. From Nick being a late bloomer, from Nick's first kiss to Andrew's parents waxing his mustache. They turned their real-life events into the main plot for the show with a humoral twist. They also included the experiences of their childhood friend Lizzie, portrayed as Jessie, to show how females also struggle with puberty just like males do. In June 2016, Netflix announced that they would pick up a show called Big Mouth. The first season was released on 29th of September 2017 and consisted of 10 episodes. In October of the same year, it was announced that a second season was underway, which came out on October 5th, 2018, with another 10 episodes. The third season was preceded by a Valentine's special episode, launched on February 8, 2019, whilst the rest of the show was released on October 4th. Later on in the year, the series was renewed for a 4th, 5th, and 6th season in July 2019. As if 3 more seasons of Big Mouth weren't enough, Netflix has also announced a spin-off series of the show, titled Human Resources. The new show will be all about the various hormone monsters that are shown in the original series. Rise in popularity. Big Mouth has been a huge hit and has received great praise and approval from critics as well since its release. It has been nominated by several awards, including the Primetime Emmy Awards in 2018 and 2019. Season 1. Talking about the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, Season 1 received a 100% rating from critics, whilst a 77% from average audience. In words of Sarah Gosling from The Guardian, "It might be a simple gross-out comedy, but it also feels like we should be talking about this stuff more openly and more often." Whilst Jen Cheney from New York Magazine said, "I also can't say enough about how explicitly and sensitively Big Mouth depicts adolescent sexual exploration." Season 2. Amazingly, Season 2 also has a 100% rating from critics on Rotten Tomatoes with a score of 81% from general audience. According to one critic, in all its hormone-driven glory, Big Mouth is a refreshing addition to the TV landscape, partly because it makes talking about serious point without ever taking itself too seriously. Season 3. And just like other seasons, the third season has been a hit as well, with Rotten Tomatoes critics ratings of 100% and audience rating of 79%. As a critic from Salon.com said, "Big Mouth continues to vividly remind its audience what it was like to be 13. but it might inspire us to continue to grow a little bit along with them. Apart from Rotten Tomatoes ratings, the show holds an overall score of 8 out of 10 on IMDb, which is a pretty good score as well. Since puberty is a topic most people are uncomfortable talking about, it is very easy to just not talk about it. According to the creators of the show, a series like this was badly needed to highlight the struggles that comes with puberty and to normalize the changes that one undergoes during their tweens and teens. It is an awkward phase of life, but it should be more normalized because everyone goes through it and is a part of a normal life. Whilst talking about the feedback from the show, Andrew Goldberg said that his favorite thing about the feedback is that people are watching the show and are having conversation about the topics that they have never talked about. Another great thing about the series is that it not only shows the male perspective on puberty, but shows a female's point of view as well, like the episode where Jessie gets her first period. Overall, this is a great adult show which teaches people that it is okay to talk about awkward stuff like periods and puberty, and it provides a ground for having healthy conversations on these topics.